Hello again, this is Jasmina, and in this video I'm going to talk about ceilings. And there are some considerations with ceilings. One of the biggest things is you really do not want to have exposed beams in your ceilings. It's not always terrible, but in general it's not good. And the lower your ceiling is, the stronger the effect will be. So if, for example, you have exposed beams, but your house, its ceiling is high enough to accommodate a second floor, but you only have one floor, then it's not so bad. It's still not great, but it's not nearly as bad as it could be. The lower your ceiling, that means the closer the beams are to your head, the worse it is. Now, the worst locations for exposed beams that create serious shachi, and that's why beams aren't great, is right over your head when you're in bed. That's bad for your health. Also, it's quite bad to have one right over your head where your seat is, that is, where you're working. And that's bad for your wealth. Now, if it's in your home office, it actually may be pretty easy to move your desk to a location, your desk and your chair, that is, to a location where the beam is not right over your head. Sometimes it's harder in a bedroom. Depends on how much room you have in your bedroom. Oftentimes you can deal with this too, but it's still not great to have beams in your bedroom or the home office that you work in. And that's also true at the office if you work outside the house. One other thing that can be a problem is any sharp object that's pointed towards the bed. We are here looking from above downwards, and this is like a free floating shelf in your bedroom. And the worst direction is here at 45 degrees to this. It's not great, I mean, either here or here, but this is the worst one. And we're talking about a rather sharp corner here. This has to be pretty sharp. If that is at the level of your head, it is at the worst. If it's considerably higher than your head, it's still not great, but it's not nearly as bad. But if this is at your head level when you're in bed laying there, it's really bad. If it is a bookshelf that has a wall here, it is slightly less bad, but it's still not great. And I would still try to avoid this. Now, if it's a freestanding bookshelf, perhaps you can just move it so that it is no longer pointing at your head. That's one good option. But if your bookshelf or a free floating shelf has an eased edge like this, it has a curve rather than a corner, then it's usually not much of a problem because you really don't have a point anymore. It's eased. And you can also create this with a corner guard. I think that's what they call them for. It's normally designed for placing on a table that's usually your coffee table if it has corners. You put it there when your child is learning to walk. So if they fall, they don't get the corner of the table, in their head. So it basically does the same thing. It rounds it out with plastic, basically, usually, or rubber, something relatively soft. That will work too. It's pretty ugly, but at least it works. Now, slope ceilings can be an issue for a bedroom, but your headboard direction in general is still important. It should be in one of the good directions. That is, if you stand at the footboard looking at the headboard, that's the direction. It should be in one of your good directions, but if you were a couple and one is an East Group person and one is a West Group person, this is not possible because you have conflicting directions. But there are other ways to deal with this. Somebody is going to take the hit with the headboard, but they'll have other parts in the house that work for them. So this can help a lot. So when it comes to slopes, of course, the very best is not to have a slope, to have a flat ceiling. Now, there are things called tray ceilings where you have a flat area, then you have an angle, and then you have another flat area. They aren't as good as a flat ceiling, but they're not terribly bad so long as your head is under the flat portion and it's up against a solid wall. So what we're looking at here, this is a headboard, this is a footboard. So we're looking at the bed from the side. I think that's clear, but I thought I should clarify. The second best, if you don't have a flat ceiling, the second best would having it slope towards your feet. This can cause some issues in some people. If you have a predisposition to having problems with your digestive tract, then this could cause some problems. The higher this is, wherever it is, at the end of the bed, it's still quite high, it's not terribly bad. So you have to look at your situation. It can also slope towards your head, which is not as good. But as long as this is 8 feet or higher, that's the standard height, it's not too bad. This is actually the situation my husband and I have been sleeping in for years. And this wall here is about 9 feet high. It's actually quite high, way over what I can reach. If you have to duck to get into bed, it's way too low. And this can cause headaches. And I did see an increase in my pre-existing migraines when we moved into this house, but there was also a lot of pressure from work and various things. So and some medication that didn't work well for me. There are problems that can occur here. But at least I got diagnosed with migraines while I was in this house. But that was kind of chance. Now, this is definitely a worse situation. It's okay if you're sleeping on this side of the bed. So if it's just a single person sleeping, as long as they sleep over here, it's okay. But this isn't good for a person sleeping over here. There's 2 possible solutions. What we're looking at here is we're standing at the foot of the bed looking at the head. So we're standing here looking this direction. And there's 2 ways to fix this. You could move the whole bed over so it's underneath the flat portion. Or if it works out, you could turn the bed 90 degrees so that the headboard is here and everything else, at least 3/4 of the bed is under the flat portion. So it's the mirror image of this. That's basically what you're dealing with. This is really not great. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're here, here, or here. There's problems. And this tends to affect one side of your body more than the other. So you're more likely to injure the side that's on the downward slope. But if you have cardiovascular problems, this could lead to a stroke on that side of your head. This could be quite serious. And if you have problems with the brain, that could lead to stroke, or it could even be something terrible like brain cancer. I mean, this is really quite worrisome, and this would be one I would really avoid. Now, in this case, again, we're looking at from the footboard towards the headboard. 90 degrees, you could be here, you could put your headboard here, or you could build a wall here and put your headboard against the wall. Any one of those works. So there are ways around this. However, it's much worse to have a beam over your head. By far, this will be much worse than any of these. Just don't do it. That's all I can say. Is just don't do it. This will cause you headaches and all kinds of brain problems. So that's basically it. I'd like to thank you for watching. Please feel free to contact me here if you have any questions, or visit my ad-free website for more information. And if you subscribe, I do have regular new videos on a fairly regular basis and some monthly videos that are very useful. Thank you again for watching.